Welcome to the STARS program, seniors taking active roles in society. And now, here's your host, ANITA FINLEY.
I'd like to introduce someone who is so well known, not only in Palm Beach County, but probably all over the United States, because he's touched so many people and done so many things. And I want to get into that in a minute. But his name is Alexander Dreyfoos, and he is certainly, we're going to talk about his being an author right now. And he wrote a great book. It's a book that's called Passion and Purpose. That's really a good name, Alex. So Passion and Purpose. Boy, you certainly have been passionate about everything you've done, and you've really made this into a purpose of establishing so many places and things. And so you must feel pretty good about this.
It's wonderful to see the community and people I've been involved with respond. Because we started out, I suppose. I've done a lot of things, but in the days of my trying to get the Kravis Center going, people kept saying to me at the beginning, "Why are you bothering, Alex? Nobody cares. The people are down here for fun in the sun, for golf and tennis and swimming."
Right.
And but eventually we made the point, and of course the center has been fabulous. And then that led me to first of all decide to do something about my passion for photography, and then later in Passion and Purpose, so many people would ask me, how did this all come about? And so that's kind of the story.
Right, and I just want to go back to that. The one thing that was really amazing is when that building, the Kravis Center, opened, it was a $60 million opening, and there was no debt, which was almost unheard of. And
I didn't tell people to stop when we could.
That's right.
So we opened with, I think, $3 million of endowment, which was great.
Right. It's funny. I always wondered why it wasn't called the Dreyfoos Center, but I guess I know.
I'll tell you very simply.
Okay.
Anita, would you please write a check to the Alexander W. Dreyfoos Center for the Arts? You know you can't do that.
Yeah.
But also at the very beginning, Palm Beach County gave me $10 million, and they wanted it named as the Palm Beach County Center for the Arts. It really became the Raymond F. Kravis Center for the Arts as a result of friends of Ray Kravis who wanted to do something in his honor, and it was largely through the Palm Beach Country Club.
Yeah.
And I had gone to the county to ask them, what would they be willing to relinquish the name if we came up with at least $5 million in Ray's honor, and they said yes. But by the time the building was finished, I can trace about $12 million as gifts in Ray's honor. So
yes,
it worked out great.
Yes, it did, and it was up on the hill. I don't know if you know this, but Bill and I and Bill Jacobson, actually, we tried to do affordable housing downtown, and there was I think it was either 12 apartments or 24 right on the site where the Kravis Center is.
Right?
You probably don't know that, and it had to get torn down to be able to have that happen, right?
I can't remember the name of the fellow who acquired a lot of that property.
I don't either. I don't remember him now. But
there's a statue of him, though, right at Okeechobee and the railroad track.
Really? Oh, I'll have to look at that sometime.
Hold on for a second. Rolf.
That's right, Rolf. Exactly. Yeah. I remember he came to town and we thought, who is this? Mm-hmm. And he had the idea, but then he wasn't able to, I guess, pull that off either.
That's right.
Well, it's a lot of history, but I want to go back to a little history even before this. When I first heard about you, you hadn't even purchased Channel 12. You were the inventor of what was it, color processing? What was that?
Yeah, well, the machine was the video color negative analyzer, which allowed one to get to a high-quality color print much easier than previous machines. And Eastman Kodak fell in love with the machine and agreed to market it for us worldwide, and then they suggested that we build a motion picture version, and then we won an Academy Award for that.
Wow, I didn't even know that.
And then the Smithsonian wanted my machine because it was a particular point in the technology which was of interest to them, and so my machine is there for posterity.
Well, see now, every time I have spoken to you quite a few times, and every time I do, there's something new that I find out. But let me take you even further back then. What, you were an engineer? Tell me about your education and how this all even happened.
Well, I am an MIT graduate, and I've continued my involvement with MIT. I was elected to their board of directors, which they call their corporation, and I'm now emeritus, but I stay very involved with MIT. I was involved with starting their media lab, and then I chaired their media lab visiting committee for a decade, and it's been a wonderful association. I did had been in ROTC to keep me out of the Korean War, at least during the time I was at MIT. And then when I received my commission, the Air Force sent me to Germany, so I was there for a couple of years. And at that point, I qualified for the GI Bill, and my wonderful MIT thesis advisor said, Alex, why don't you're obviously entrepreneurial, why don't you pick up an MBA? And I said, well, I'm sure the graduate school at MIT, the Sloan School, would take me. He says, nah. He says, you know everything you need to know about MIT. Why don't you go up the river, meaning Harvard Business School?
So that's what you
did. He did one of these beautiful letters where he said, well, young Dreyfoos came to me and asked whether I would write a recommendation for him to go to Harvard Business School. He says, and he's a good guy, and it'd be good if you got him, but he says, you won't get him because we want him at the business school, at the Sloan School. So that reverse psychology worked.
Oh, that's a funny story. Well, so you had a lot of the background, but then you had a passion to really make a difference, and obviously you did. So, all right, so now you have this color machine. Why did you buy Channel 12?
Well, okay.
I'm really taking you back, aren't I?
Yeah, well, it's an interesting story. I learned that, that the business school, the way to price a machine that is used in industry is you price it so that the company that buys the machine through savings of using your machine, can pay it back in 3 to 5 years. That's sort of the industry standard. And it turned out our machine saved companies so much that the machine could be priced at $25,000 and still work for the company. And Kodak wanted a lot to handle all the marketing, and they wanted a 100% markup, so they wanted to buy the machine from me for $25,000. And the beauty was the machine only cost me $2,500. So
that was nice.
That was a $10,000, gain
profit, right?
Profit for each one. And at that time, the IRS had a rule about what they called excess accumulation of earnings. They wanted companies to pay dividends so that they could be taxed at personal tax rates. So most of us who didn't have to do that, since it was privately held, left the money in the corporation, and the IRS came in and said, we're going to tax you. And so my accountant said, Alex, the only way you're going to beat this is to get rid of the money. And I said, well, okay, why don't I just go buy some real estate or something?
Something
They
at
said,
a loss,
no.
right?
Pardon me?
Something that was at a loss, something that wasn't working.
Right. And they, but they said, no, the IRS rules, if you want to go buy real estate, declare the dividend, pay the tax, and then buy the real estate. So they said, well, why don't you buy an automobile agency? And I said, well, I certainly admire automobile agencies, but that's not my real field of interest. And they said, well, you've got to find some operating company that would work. And I had gotten heard that John D. MacArthur, who you all know is one of the very wealthy people back in the 70s, who bought lots of land around Palm Beach County, and he was also willing to give mortgages to people. If people wanted money and they had a valuable asset, you could go do a deal with John D. MacArthur. But it would be a pretty tight deal, and if you screwed up, he would yank the paper.
Of course.
So he had a bunch of these kinds of things, and his advisors were sort of saying, listen, old man, when you die, keep life simple for those of us who are going to be handling your estate, and why don't you die just owning Bankers Life and Casualty and all of your land, and get rid of your toys. Well, one of his toys was Channel 12 that he had acquired because a guy screwed up.
Oh, my God.
So the sales manager of Channel 12 at the time got wind of this, hearing about his advisors telling him to sell it, and thought, well, maybe if I can find a buyer for the station, the old man will throw me a bone of some sort. And so I was involved in a small investment club that we had gained some notoriety for, and he came and pitched the club, and none of them were really interested, but I thought, well, listen, I use video technology, and I had gotten my ham radio license back when I was in high school, and, I understand video and RF, and why don't I do it? Well, of course, as you know, as a broadcaster, the technology has only about 5% to do with it. It's all sales and marketing.
Right. Absolutely.
Kodak was doing my marketing. I knew nothing about marketing. But by golly, I ended up negotiating with Mr. MacArthur, and I ended up convincing him to sell it to me. And so that was the beginning of 23 years of my owning Channel 12.
Oh, yes. I remember when you first started that. And I remember,
I made lots of mistakes.
Yeah, and Judy. That's really where you started with Judy, wasn't it?
Well, there are two Judys in my life. Judy Goodman.
Judy Goodman. That's what I meant, right?
Yeah, and of course, Judy Mitchell now runs the Kravis Center.
Of course, but Judy Goodman's who I was referring to.
Right. She would then later went on to help me organize the Cultural Council.
Right.
And, she played a major role in our getting the bed tax passed, which now, incidentally, I know I'm jumping around a little.
No, it's good. That's all right.
Has contributed over $100 billion to the
No kid, $100 million?
$100 million over this 40 years. So the Cultural Council is now celebrating its 40th anniversary.
Well, yes, I do. Oh, that is amazing. Wow, that's quite a story. So, I knew some of the characters in your discussion, but so that's how it all happened. And so, did you like being the owner of Channel 12? Did you do any creative things there?
It was terrific. Particularly when we started fundraising for the Performing Arts Center. If I had called people and said, Mrs. Jones, I'm the owner of Photo Electronics Corporation. Can I come and see you?
Right.
90% of the people would have said no.
Yeah, right.
But if I call and said, I'm Alex Dreyfoos, I haven't owned Channel 12.
Right.
Can I come and see you? Nobody ever said no.
Oh, what a great story that was.
I had purposely never, taken my name onto the phone book or anything, and I'd always told my secretary at the time was Renate, who's now my wife,
yes,
that I will talk to anybody who asks to speak to me. And so sometimes in the afternoon I'd be at my desk and Renate would say, there's a woman on the phone wants to talk to you. She sounds pretty irate. I said, okay. So I'd say, hello, this is Alex Strymon. She said, how could John have done that to Susan? And I think for a second, I said, oh, okay, that's a soap opera on.
Oh, my God. That's wonderful.
She was thinking I was obviously controlling the soap opera.
Right. Oh, my gosh.
So we had some fun with that kind of stuff.
Oh, that's just great. Yeah, and so who did you sell Channel 12 to?
Freedom Communications came and bought it from us.
Well,
and it turned out that the FCC changed the rules just a year or so before I sold, and it made the station extremely attractive to large corporations.
Mm.
There had been some FCC rules that limited any one company to own no more than 5 VHF stations. And then the FCC changed the rules that a company could own as many stations as they wanted, but they couldn't broadcast to more than 25% of the country. And what made Channel 12 particularly attractive is because of the wonderful weather and all we have here.
Sure.
So, people like the New York Times or the Tribune or,
Sure.
and some of the magazine companies thought, well, listen, if I were to own a TV station in Palm Beach, I could go down there in the winter and, check on my property and play a little golf or whatever.
Fantastic. Well,
So we had the company that did the marketing for me just ran an auction, and it was phenomenal.
Well, I just want everyone to know, I've been talking to excellent gentleman, Alexander Dreyfoos. We call him Alex Dreyfoos. And this is just part of just a little teeny bit of what's in his great book, Passion and Purpose. I really suggest, even if you're if you're listening and you're in Broward County or Miami, but even if you're not a Palm Beacher, I think you should get it. You'll love this book. It has wonderful pictures in it. You'll hear a lot of stories or read a lot of stories like this. And the way to do that, actually, you would get this over at the Kravis Center. So let's see, I got to figure out how, if someone wants to buy this, it's an autobiography. What you can actually do, even though I know it's at the gift shop at the Kravis Center, what should they do? Should they, have them call, I guess, Linda?
Yeah, I'm sure even if they call the box office at Kravis, any of the phone numbers at Kravis, they'll put you in touch with them.
Let's do that. Just try to buy that book. If all else fails, call me, and I'll make sure you get it, because it's really special. It's a book that every year that passes, I see the train going by. I'm at the studio, and we have this wonderful bright line train, and now, things have changed so in Palm Beach County, and yet when you read books like this, it will take you back to what it was and the struggle of all these years. And when you look at the Kravis Center, and please do go to the Kravis Center. It's spectacular. And I'm just so proud of you. You've just done so well, Alex, as a human being.
I'm not opposed to your promoting the book because I paid for all the publication and then gave all the books to the Kravis Center, so they get 100% of the receipts.
Oh, that's great. I didn't know that. Well, let's promote it. Passion and Purpose. It's Alex Dreyfoos, and it's his book, and it's a great book. I have it. I've read it. I've referred to it. I think you should really do it. And Alex certainly is living a beautiful life with his great wife, and we've had a lot of stories. I know he's been on before, and we'll get him on again, but I just wanted everyone to know that he's actually so influential in what's happened here in Palm Beach County. And you don't know this, Alex, but I'm now working with the Palm Beach Civic Association because they want me to help put on a health symposium. So that's what I'm working on with them. But
they now have me as an honorary director there.
Yeah, I saw your name. I know that. And you should be. You see, it must be interesting for you to close your eyes and think back about what things were like. If you just even go into West Palm Beach, as I've been there lately, I cannot believe what it looks like. Absolutely.
Oh, yeah, there were derelicts lying on Old Okeechobee Boulevard.
And Clematis Street, remember?
It's been a dramatic change. We still have a little bit of time. I'll tell you something funny.
Yeah, just keep going, and if I lose out of time, we'll have to do this another time. But start.
Okay. Well, I called a Palm Beach dowager and tried to get her to get involved with us, and she very much wanted the center to be in Palm Beach itself. And of course, there was no way you could handle the traffic or anything. So, her first conversation with me was, Mr. Dreyfoos, when I come south this season, my chauffeur picks me up at Palm Beach Airport and takes me across the Royal Palm Bridge, and I don't cross that bridge again until it's time to go north.
Right.
So, as you know, Royal Palm Way has its name because of these beautiful royal palm trees.
Yes.
So I convinced the county to plant royal palm trees all the way from the bridge out to I-95, with the hope that maybe she'd forget the fact that she was no longer in Palm Beach. So ask your viewers to note that there are now beautiful royal palm trees all the way to I-95.
I have noticed that. I didn't know that you were the one that did it. So did you ever get anything from her?
Yes, I did.
They just can't resist you, can they? That was.
We've been very fortunate. I will
story.
mention one other thing. The community went from "Why are you bothering Alex?" to just falling in love with the place.
Yeah.
And the community now gives us approximately $6 million each year over and above ticket sales.
Amazing.
So we've been able to build
Yeah.
a very nice endowment, and in the next year or so, you'll hear after 25 years, we are going to begin a sort of a refreshing. We want to increase traffic flow, make it better. It does turn out that people are willing to pay significantly for good valet parking as long as it can be quick recovery, and so that's kind of what we're designing for.
I've told Linda that of all the places I go, the valet at Kravis is the best. It absolutely is. It's the best place. The people are the nicest. So yes, that was great. But also, and I don't know if we have time, but having the arts, the high school for the performing arts, right in back, and you're getting all these kids, which you're doing things with.
They make me so proud.
Yep.
Dreyfoos School is just gangbusters.
Right, and so that's right, Dreyfoos School of the Arts. I mean, it's like, well, you should be. And Renata, of course, she's right there with you. She's been there with you for so many years, and now, of course, she's there as your partner, and that's wonderful. Well, you do have a great love story, and I know that I want people to buy your book so that they can really enjoy things they have no idea as they drive by here, or they drive by there. And you didn't do everything yourself. It's just you told the story of how it happened. I mean, with so many places, and now you're. Do you still like to fish?
Yes, I still enjoy that. We really have had a great time with our boat. We've taken it around the world, and we've been to lots of exciting places, all the way up the Amazon River. We've circled the globe. It's been wonderful. Great
life, hasn't it? And at 85, you're going to have a lot more years. Bill had till 93, so you just look at all the years you're going to have. It's you will, and I'm glad you're doing so well with all the other things that you're involved with, and I'm really proud to know you, and I commend you, and I just want everyone to know again. I'm going to say this book again. It's Passion and Purpose, and you can get it if you just call thekravis.org and tell them you want to buy that book. They'll figure out how to do it.
Yeah, it's on the website, kravis.org.
Oh, right.
And in addition, I've published a book called APO, a Photographic Odyssey, of all a biggest chunk of over 600 of my photographs that I've taken over 60 years, and that I gave also to the Cultural Council, and they have a nice deal with the Kravis, so you can buy both books right at the Kravis.
Oh, really? I don't know about that book. I'll have to get it, and then we'll have to have another conversation, because I have seen many of your photographs, but you're telling me there are 600 in this book?
Yeah. And in fact, we just completed a show, ended, I think, the first week in January at the Photographic Center.
Well,
I'm more in love with my photographs than I am about the biography. So,
but the
I'd like people to have both of them.
The photographs, I mean, you took each one, and that's I don't
right.
know what kind of a camera. You must have had the very best camera to do this. And then,
60 years you had to have those different models.
Yes, you do have to do that. But the whole point is now, if we go on, do you have a website personally yourself?
No, I have one for the boat, but that doesn't address any of those other things. Yeah.
So that might
be... The Kravis Center is the best place for that.
And if we go on there, can we see?
I mean, you can also get it, I think, with some difficulty on Amazon. Just Google Dreyfoos, and both books should come up.
Oh, well, that's good. That's and then will it but then the proceeds don't go to the Kravis Center.
Well, obviously the Amazon gets some markup, but the rest of it all goes to the Kravis.
Well, that would be great. Okay, well, so now we have something else to look at. What's the name of your photographic book?
A Photographic Odyssey.
And you did that while you were on your ship?
Well, it goes back 60 years. I haven't had boats for 60 years.
Right.
My first pictures were from when I was in the Air Force and so forth.
It's funny. Somehow I have seen a lot of those pictures. I don't know when I saw them, but I'm sure that was something. Well,
Yeah,
Alex,
I think you'd enjoy them.
Yeah, I will, and I'm certainly going to make. In fact, I ought to feature something like that in Boomer Times. I'm just thinking about that. I might just do that. If once I get the book, I will see, and then I can you probably give me permission to scan some of a few photos, right?
Yeah,
just to get them out there. Well, it's always a joy to see you and to talk to you. You are.
Thank you, Anita. Very nice to catch up with you again.
Yeah, thank you very
wonderful.
much, and have a great life because
Well, you
you deserve
All
it.
right.
All right.
Terrific.
Thank
Thanks.
you, Alex. Bye.
Bye now.